Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar, Leverage Technology to Automate Your Tax Advisory Services. First and foremost, we hope that you and your loved ones are happy, healthy, and staying safe. For today's webinar, Peter Wesch, Tax Partner at Marion, and Lisa Erickson, Technology Product Manager at Wolters Kluwer, will discuss the benefits of leveraging the CCH Axcess Suite when expanding into advisory services. Wolters Kluwer CCH is registered with NASBA as a sponsor of continuing professional education on the National Registry of CPE sponsors. As such, we are excited to offer 1 CPE credit for today's webinar. A total of 4 polls will be conducted throughout the presentation, and you'll need to participate in 3 of them in order to receive your CPE. If you experience any technical difficulties when trying to submit your poll response, please make sure you let us know in the questions pane. This way we can record your answer manually. Your certificate will be loaded to CPE link, which you can retrieve by logging in with the email used to register for the webinar. Please allow 5 business days after the session for your certificate to be uploaded into CPE link. If you have difficulty retrieving your certificate, please email us at taana-webinars@wolterskluwer.com. Please note, CPE is not available when viewing the on-demand version of this webinar. You will also have the opportunity to submit questions by typing them into the questions pane of the control panel. We'll be answering questions at the end of the session. If we don't get to your question during today's webinar, we'll be sure to follow up afterwards. You will also have the opportunity to complete a survey about the webinar, our content, learning objectives, and more at the end of the presentation. This survey will also be sent to you in a follow-up email. We appreciate you taking the time to participate in this survey so we can continue to deliver meaningful content in future presentations. Without any further ado, I'd like to welcome our speakers, Peter and Lisa.
Thank you, Alyssa. My name is Lisa Erickson. I am the Manager of Technology Product Management for the Firm Management Solutions here at Wolters Kluwer. The products I oversee are CCH Axcess Practice, Workflow, Workstream, and IQ. And I'd like to welcome Peter. Peter, would you like to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Thanks, Lisa. I am Pete Wesch. I am the tax principal at Marion and Company. We are roughly 40 employees strong with offices in California and Tennessee. I oversee the tax practice and tax advisory services.
So in today's webinar, Pete and I will be talking about industry trends and challenges, and just about how firms needed to rethink the role of technology. We'll also talk about reimagining your firm's value and how to transform your firm with technology, and then we'll have a special customer spotlight on Pete at the end. So let's dig into some of these market trends and challenges. According to a recent Wolters Kluwer survey, the top goals of firms are to drive revenue growth, improve customer engagement, and improve operational workflow. So Pete, does any of these top goals surprise you? And from your perspective, what do you see in your firm as your top goals?
No, not at all. I mean, obviously, all of us would like to improve our revenue and are striving toward revenue growth, and hopefully while doing doing less work. We definitely don't want to drive revenue growth by just increasing the number of hours that we work. All of our employees and hopefully the senior management of firms as well is looking to improve some sort of work-life balance while and leveraging technology to make that happen. Improving customer engagement is just a way to get those better revenues from the same clients, or maybe you want to move to new clients by offering them better services or higher level services, and then improving operational workflow. That just goes again to being able to maintain that work-life balance and hopefully work less and make the same or more money, while also helping the clients with the things that they, the exact things that they're looking for.
Melissa, can we move on to the next slide? Thank you. So kind of going along with that, and you've mentioned this briefly, just talking about top challenges that firms have as well. And we hear this over and over, is just retaining and attracting top talent. So what does your firm do to help with this? And are there other top challenges that your firm is dealing with?
Well, finding talent is an issue. I am part of the accounting advisory board for our local university here, and certainly there are fewer accountants going to school, fewer accountants graduating, and it's been an ongoing issue. And what we see is that we really have to find a way to engage our new talent more, not by putting them at the low end and having them do menial work for several years before moving on to something, but by really teaching them how to deal with the clients. And remote work has been a big thing, both positive and negative. Using the the CCH Axcess platform, remote work is not an issue for us. Hasn't been for quite some while. Even our other servers are cloud-based, so they're accessible from anywhere. But not everybody wants to work remotely. Not everybody has the ability to work remotely effectively from their home. Those of us that are older, generally have larger homes and dedicated workspaces. But the young people that are coming in, they have growing families and they need all the space that they can get in their home. So home office is not necessarily a beneficial thing for them. Where I see the biggest benefit of remote work is by being able to employ someone who's not in the region. I can essentially hire anyone anywhere these days and they can work for me remotely as long as they have a place to do that work.
Let's go ahead and move on. Go ahead, and we have a polling question.
Okay.
Perfect, thank you. We're going to start with our first polling question. And as a reminder, you'll need to complete 3 of the 4 polling questions in order to receive your CPE. So the first polling question is, what steps has your firm taken to move towards advisory services? We've started making changes and introducing advisory services to our clients, or we're thinking about introducing advisory services, but don't want to change our overall business model. We're implementing our new business model within the next 6 months. We finalized our pricing and the model and will begin to implement in the next 1 to 2 years, or we've made no changes to our current business model. So we'll give everyone just about 10 more seconds to complete the first polling question. Okay, I'm going to close the poll and give a quick share of the results, just so Lisa and Pete, you know where your audience is. So 42% have started making the change and introducing advisory services to the clients. 26% are thinking about it, and then about 19% have made no changes. So a great mix here.
Yeah, and that definitely is what I've been seeing in other surveys as well. So very similar results. So let's go ahead and talk about rethinking the role of technology. So as we're all aware, when COVID hit, it really changed things with how we all work. We needed to all of a sudden accommodate staff from working from home. We needed to look into technology that was cloud-based so that it was easy for our staff to work from home. So even though the plans to become digital was in the plans, it really accelerated with COVID. So 2020 became 2025 real fast. You can move to the next slide there. So according to this Wolters Kluwer survey you see here, we asked firms to tell us which of the following tactics they are using to grow their business. We see here that one of the top results was adding or updating technology at 52%. So just thinking about the different products that CCH offers are cloud-based, such as CCH Axcess. We have tax products, we have the engagement products, and then we have firm management products to help you manage your whole practice. So with CCH Axcess Workflow, really allows staff to manage those different projects that they're assigned to, the different tax engagements, advisory engagements, audit engagements. And then we have client collaboration that allows you to collect those important documents from your clients, such as your tax documents with client collaboration. And then we have CCH Axcess IQ as well that really helps with providing those tax advisory services as well. So Pete, from your experience, what other technologies have you seen really help with growing your business, and with the products I mentioned as well, you know, what value have you seen?
Well, absolutely, Axcess IQ has been great in terms of giving us information to put out to the clients, which then starts a client conversation. And the amazing thing about it is that we don't have to have the expertise and the research time that we spend in-house to come up with the client communication. I can essentially have anyone in the firm go through, see what clients it applies to, and then send out an email blast or a mailing out to the clients. And generally speaking, when we do that, we end up with questions back from the clients, which then lead us into tax planning or other services that we can provide to the client to make sure that they're up to date and everything else. But you know, our firm has been to some ways way ahead in terms of digital transformation. We started going paperless in 2001 and completed that transition around 2006. So that was kind of the beginning. Then we went to cloud-based servers around 2012 because of the fact that we had multiple offices in 2 different states, and being able to collaborate on things. It was just so much easier when things weren't based in one of our offices, and whenever one office would have a problem, then that basically cut off everybody else from the technology. And then we went to CCH Axcess, pretty much the entire CCH Axcess platform in 2015, late in 2015 for the 2015 tax filing season. And having, you know, a fully integrated database where everything shares, firm management shares information with the tax software and the project management side of things and the document side of things just is a game changer in terms of being able to keep everything up to date. And the more we do, the better it becomes. You know, we are still waiting on one piece of engagement to move to Axcess Engagement. Unfortunately, we do a lot of governmental auditing, and we use fund trial balances, and that's the one piece that's still missing from the Axcess Engagement. But from what I've seen, those that are not using fund trial balances are having good success with the Axcess Engagement platform as well.
Yeah, and I think as well, just with the challenge of being able to retain and attracting talent, just having that updated technology really helps with that, as well as we know with talent entering the workplace, they've grown up with smartphones, and so they expect to have that technology in place as well. So yeah, I'm sure your firm has seen that as well.
Absolutely. As Jason Dorsey, in one of his keynotes, he's a generational expert and studies generational differences. And he said that, most of us that are Gen X or baby boomers, we expect the young people to be tech savvy. But the people coming into the workforce aren't necessarily tech savvy, but they are tech dependent. And they want to join a firm that has a technological advantage and is embracing the technology that they like to use and that they are dependent on, essentially.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go ahead and advance there. And so just talking about technology, we've heard many years ago that, hey, technology is going to replace accountants. That we have not seen that happen at all. And just even with more advancements with AI and all of that, I think the profession has just really seen how it can enhance their day-to-day job. It reduces waste, lowers cost, improves communication and collaboration, not only with your staff, but with your clients, and reduces the chance for human error. And it allows the firm to really focus on those higher client services, such as advisory services, and it puts you in that seat where you can be more proactive versus reactive. I'd like to get your perspective on this for your firm, Pete.
Absolutely. I mean, none of us enters the accounting profession, wanting to type W-2 data into tax software. If that's all we did every day, that no one would enjoy working in accounting. Ultimately, we're looking to work with the clients and solve their problems. And the fact is that our clients have a finite amount of money to spend on tax services and on accounting services, and they want to get the most bang for their buck. And that bang for their buck definitely is not in the low-end data entry, but in the actual tax planning and tax advisory services that we can provide. And so when we're talking about, replacing, we're not replacing people. We're not replacing accountants with technology. What we're replacing is work that is essentially wasteful for the people that are doing it. So, I mean, I would much rather spend the 2 or 3 hours that I have to spend on a particular tax client, talking to them and finding out what their issues are and helping them solve their problems, and have technology take care of the actual compliance work, the actual tax preparation, reading the tax forms and putting the numbers into the tax return and just reviewing the tax return for those opportunities to talk to the client, and add value-added services to my portfolio. And that makes for a very loyal client that ends up staying with us for a long time.
Absolutely, because you really have established yourself as a trusted advisor. They know that, hey, my accountant's got my back. They're on top of the latest and greatest, and they're providing me real value and saving me money, and when I'm paying for taxes as well.
Correct.
Melissa, would you like to give us another polling question?
I'd love to. Thank you, Lisa. We're going to do our second polling question, and it is, what challenges and/or roadblocks are your firm facing when trying to shift into offering advisory services? You may be unsure of where to start or offer, unsure of how to price out your new business model, lack of time, is it limited resources or staffing issues? You're facing no challenges and you're ready to move right along, or if it's a different type of challenge, we can feel free to share that in the questions pane or the comment section. We'd love your input as well. So we'll give everyone about 10 more seconds to answer this polling question, but it does seem like we have a pretty fair match between the first 4 answers being unsure of where to start, unsure of where to price, lack of time, or resources. So I'm sure that's not a surprise to any of you. And let's close the poll, and I will share the results so you can both see.
It looks like limited resources and staffing issues is the top one there at 33%. And that is something actually I often hear from firms as well, but as we continue today's discussion, I think we'll determine some ways to go ahead and combat that as well. So let's talk about reimagining your firm's value. So we heard Pete just talking about the importance of focusing on advisory, and it really allows you to stand out from other accounting firms and put you in that position of trusted advisor. So Pete, from your perspective, what benefits has your firm seen with moving to an advisory firm?
Well, certainly the ability to charge higher fees because the client does appreciate the value that brings to them. And that may not be an every year thing. So what we did is we went to a 3-tier pricing model. And essentially the client can choose what is the right model for the year for them. We give them the pricing ahead of time. So, based on their prior year tax return, we send them out a menu that says, here's what just tax preparation looks like with, obviously they still get access to us via phone because we want them to contact us before they make any major decisions, before they screw something up that we can't fix later on. But in terms of, actual tax planning meetings or things along those lines, those are in the higher tiers. And it also gives them a reduced rate on hourly services. So if they choose to have hourly services for something that's outside of the scope, being in the higher tiers of service gives them a lower hourly rate for those services. And you can structure those 3-tiered or multi-tiered pricing arrangements any way you want. I saw that was one of the big questions, like how do I do the pricing? Probably many of us included, we're probably still not charging enough for our services. And one of the things that you definitely don't want to be afraid of is to raise your prices and set a minimum for the type of return that you do. And then, you do have to be able to obviously deliver to some extent on the promise of planning and advisory. And so you're going to spend more time staying up to date. And certainly have lots of resources available from CCH to help you do that, and to quickly look things up, and then just go from there.
So how do you handle the situation then, Pete, when your clients tell you, hey, I just don't see the value of you providing these tax advisory services? What is your response to them?
Well, my response to them is I can also do just basic compliance work for them. I don't have an issue with that. That's on the pricing plan. Obviously, I don't want to turn away the younger clients, but quite honestly, many of our younger clients, they're in W-2 employment situations. Maybe they have a home mortgage, they have a couple of kids. They're the tax planning, tax advisory aspects of things are somewhat limited to, hey, making sure that you are planning toward retirement. Maybe I'm working together with a investment advisor for them, but it's somewhat limited. Once they get more toward or more mature, then a lot of things open up in terms of what are they doing, planning for their kids and for the future, for their retirement, and all the things that come along with that. And so if you want to continue to have a pipeline of clients that have been with you for years and that trust you and that want to go forward, you do have to do some of the basic compliance work for the lower tier offerings in order to keep that pipeline growing.
Yeah, that makes sense. So for those clients then that do engage in those advisory services, then what do you hear from them with how that helps them and helps them sleep at night?
Oh, I mean, that's the nice thing about the work is you get almost immediate feedback as to what you're telling them, and a lot of times the clients, they know conceptually what the answer should be, what they need to do. They want that confirmed, and you're there primarily to guide them and keep them within the rules and tell them the best way of achieving whatever goals that they may have and solving the issues that they face. And each client obviously is unique in what it is exactly that they want to do. We have so many different types of situations with, we have kids from the previous marriages that need to be cared for. We have, illnesses, age differences between husband and wife, longevity issues, all these things we can assist the client in planning for and assist them in how to best address that or guide them in the direction that they want to go.
It's got to be so rewarding to hear how you've helped them as well.
Absolutely. That's what we really enter the profession for, right? Is to assist people, help them grow their businesses, help them have a successful financial life.
All right, well, let's go ahead and move forward, Alyssa. So let's dig into deeper just with what advisor service models you have built and standardize those services when expanding upon your advisor services at your firm. Can you provide some more insight there, Pete?
Sure, and this depends somewhat on the client mix that you have and the client mix that you want to have. Certainly, there's plenty of room for someone who specializes in just individual tax preparation and tax advisory services for individuals. Lots of things there. Maybe you want to focus on business clients, or clients that have small businesses or small to medium-sized businesses, and you want to focus on them instead. And the biggest thing is that you want to make sure that you are somewhat specialized in what it is that you're doing. You ultimately can't be everything to every person, particularly when you get into advisory. If you're just doing compliance work, if you're just doing the tax preparation, you can be an expert in probably all forms of tax, but that is not going to lend itself really well to the advisory arena. You do have to be able to kind of figure out what the ideal client is, and then you can expand from there as you add more people to your advisory product line. Our firm in particular, we have a heavy concentration in nonprofit. We prepare about 300 990 returns And so we have a department that deals with that and is very well able to assist those clients with advisory work in the, when it comes to their tax reporting, filing, and requirements. We prepare about 1,200 individual tax returns, many of those attached to small businesses that we work with. And so by leveraging the expertise that you have in a particular field, that will elevate the value of the advisory services that you provide in that arena.
How has CCH Axcess IQ helped your firm with developing an advisory service model and standardizing those services?
The IQ platform in particular, because we have a constant flow of changes and reminders of things that are affecting our clients, and it actually goes through our database and determines which clients it applies to and how many of our clients it applies to, is great in that I can quickly look at something and say, okay, hey, I want to send out an email blast to the clients on a weekly or a monthly basis to keep the client engaged. And I want to reach, obviously, the largest number of clients that I can that this will be relevant to. And so IQ really does that part for us, but it also allows me to very quickly search for things that I just want to have a general knowledge of. Maybe it isn't something I'm going to send out to the clients because it may be too technical, but it's a quick way for me to look at the resources that are available and to then do further research, but at least get a topical knowledge of what I'm looking at first. So it's been great for that. We use it primarily just on at least a monthly basis to keep in contact with our clients and send them relevant information and let them know that we are, in fact, the experts without actually having to do the research on that particular item and prepare a letter from scratch. And it's been, like I said, it's been great for that.
That's great to hear. Let's move on to the next slide, Alyssa. So as far as with training staff and implementing the advisory services, can you talk about the approach your firm took on that?
Yeah, I mean, the bullet points here are great. Streamlining, standardizing, and optimizing, very important because we do still have, number one, the compliance work going on in the background, so we have to be able to keep that up. And we want to spend as little time on that piece of it as we can. So by continuing to improve our processes, we can streamline that part of it, make sure that we're not spending a lot of time on it. And then also, how do we look at the data that the client is giving us and find the things that potentially are important to that client to be able to talk to them about. And that's a continuous improvement type of situation. We're always looking for better ways of doing it, better ways of reviewing the work, better ways of finding the information that we want to have further conversation with the clients about. Gaining staff buy-in, not just in advisory, but in all aspects of your firm processes is really important because ultimately, if your team is not on board with what you're doing, they're not going to do it. You can beat them all you want, but it's not going to get any better if they're not on board with what it is that you're trying to do. And then absolutely soft skills, being able to talk to the clients is different from being able to enter data into tax returns. So it is important that we get our team members those soft skills, the leadership skills, the ability to speak with clients, and to then drive those further conversations with the clients and be able to assist them with advisory services.
And then as far as with staff leveraging CCH Axcess IQ, what I hear from firms is that, you know, CCH Axcess IQ basically replaces a staff person having to go out there, you know, doing the research on the different legislation changes, and then drafting a client letter, identifying those clients that are affected. What do you hear from your staff just about the benefits of CCH Axcess IQ and how it helps them do their job?
Well, I agree entirely. I mean, they're essentially not having to do that research and writing the letters, and you know, and in my experience, very few team members have the ability to write a good letter. What ends up happening is I end up with a letter, if I send somebody out to write it, that has all of the relevant facts in it, but may not be grammatically correct, or may have, you know, issues with it. This kind of eliminates all of that, and certainly, you know, eliminates a lot of time. Prior to Axcess IQ, I would assign research assignments to team members, and they would spend anywhere from 6 to 12 hours researching, writing up a letter, and then sending it over for review. Then I'd spend another hour editing it, sending it back, and eventually we would end up with something that we could send out to the client. And so the IQ technology not only eliminates most of that time, but also tells us which clients, you know, it's applicable to, so that we can easily reach the target audience for any specific research area.
And I want to share a great resource as well. Alyssa, if you can go back one slide as well. So we have a best practices for providing advisory services infographic, and you'll see a QR code right there that you can go ahead and scan that goes through a lot of those best practices that Pete and I just talked about. And then if we can move forward, just talk about pricing and subscriptions here, Pete. So you talked a little bit about this at the beginning of the hour. Can you talk a little more about just the different tiered pricing that you have? You know, how much more do you charge for those tax advisory services? So in industry best practice is charging 5 times more than what you charge for preparing the tax return. Sometimes firms charge less than that, sometimes more, but the average is about 5 times more. I just wondered if you can share your perspective on that as well.
Yeah, I think you kind of have to come up with a pricing scheme that's comfortable for you and works for the clients that you're dealing with. So by having a multi-tier approach to the tax return itself, that includes some advisory. Obviously, there still has to be a scope limitation there, but you know, each pricing package has its scope of what's included, what's not included, and then what is available in addition to that. And the biggest thing is that what you want to do is you want to be able to provide the client the pricing upfront. They are not going to value the services any more at any point in time than before they actually receive the services. If they feel a need for something, they're pretty much willing to pay whatever it is that you're asking them to pay, within reason, obviously. Unless they know for a fact that they can get it somewhere else for less. And so that's your leverage that you have at the beginning, okay? if you enter into advisory services on an hourly basis or without telling the client upfront what the fee may be, then you're going to have a very hard time getting those elevated fees from the client at the end, because at that point they've seen the result, and it may or may not be exactly what they thought it was going to be, but having no knowledge up front of what the fees are going to be, most likely they will be disappointed if you then hand them a large bill.
Yeah, absolutely. And you'll see another resource here, another QR code. We have a return on investment calculator leveraging CCH Axcess IQ. And so it allows you to calculate those efficiencies saved by leveraging CCH Axcess IQ, and then also the profit margin that you will go ahead and gain leveraging CCH Axcess IQ, providing those advisory services. So just another great resource for you here. Let's go ahead and move forward.
And one more thing on that last slide, as far as the subscription model, that is absolutely a good way to go if that's how you choose to do things. It's much easier for the client to work on a smaller bite and get used to paying every month for something, and they have access. That's ultimately what the client wants, is they want to have access to you or to your team to be able to get the questions answered right away whenever they want it. And by having a subscription model, you can provide that for them, because you have a steady revenue flow regardless of whether the clients are calling, right? So at any point in time, if you have tax clients, maybe 10% of the tax clients have questions in any given year, so you should have plenty of capacity on a subscription model to deal with those things that are coming up when they come up.
Thank you for that insight, Pete.
All right, we're going to
polling question.
Perfect, thank you. We're going to go into our third polling question, and as a reminder, you'll need to complete 3 of the 4 in order to receive your CPE. This polling question is, what advancements in technology has your firm taken? We've already started introducing new tools and technology. We're thinking about introducing new tools and technology. We'll be implementing these tools or technology in the next 6 months, or possibly in the next 1 to 2 years, or we have made no advancements in technology. And we'll give everyone just about 5 more seconds to complete this third polling question. And then I will close the poll in 3, 2, 1, and I will share the results. And we have a clear winner here with 55%, but then a close second with 33% about to implement.
Well, that is wonderful to see those results. So let's talk about transforming your firm and how you can transition, provide more value. So I love this quote here. This is from CPA Practice Advisor. Accounting technology has always played a part in making the accountant's job just a little easier. As our knowledge of technology increased, so has the accountant's ability to analyze statistical values. Technology advancements have enhanced the accountant's ability to interpret data efficiently and effectively. She now has the ability to interpret the language of business with such ease that the accountant has become a corporation's most trusted business advisor. So I think that's key. Trusted business advisor, and how technology has really transformed the industry. Let's go ahead and advance here. So we think about just preparing a tax return, just how technology has really advanced that process and made it digital. You go ahead, you can select CCH Axcess Client Collaboration and leverage that technology to gather those important tax documents, getting that engagement letter signed, and getting that organizer from your client so you don't have to re-enter all that data, and then leveraging CCH Axcess Pro System FX Scan to scan all those tax documents so you don't have to again re-enter those, and then that scans right into Access Tax. You just make some minor adjustments to it because all that data has scanned in, and using CCH Axcess documents to store those tax documents, the tax return, and then leveraging CCH Axcess Practice to send that invoice and get your payment. So just really a seamless workflow. Pete, can you provide some insight just with how these particular products have helped your firm as well?
Sure. And we use Workstream as well to do our workflow and track where things are in this process. And when it comes to obtaining information, unfortunately, we have too many methods in many ways at this point. And so it's nice to be able to guide clients towards something that they can use effectively and want to use, rather than IMing you pictures of tax forms that you then have to try to convert into something you can store, and emailing open email of tax forms, which we want to dissuade if at all possible. And so having an integrated way of managing all of these documents that are coming in from the clients, and then organizing them, running them through the process, storing them, is a game changer in terms of the efficiency with which you can go through the preparation process. We do use some offshore tax preparation help as well. And because we're completely cloud-based and are using the Workstream project management, they are able to go in and pick up the projects that are assigned to them, even though they start several hours after we close our office, and work on everything, and just continue through the entire process. So the only place where we have paper is at the front. Once something gets into our office, it's immediately scanned, run through scan autoflow if appropriate, to pick up the pick up the information from the tax forms and import it directly into the tax software, and then from there, the integration of invoicing between CCH Axcess Tax and Axcess Practice, keeping time, dealing with project budgets within Workstream, and saving everything in a document in which we can have our document destruction policy identified. We can have things that are set up as permanent files so that don't get deleted after 7 years, but we don't physically have to go through and purge out the old files. It's available at all times. It's available on my phone. If I'm out and about and the client has a question about a form that's there or a tax return, I can pull it up on my phone. So the technology, I'm a little worried by the, I think 12 or 13% that were in the bottom 3 poll questions that say that we're not implementing any new technology for 1 or 2 years. There's so much technology that's happening that can make your firm more efficient, that if you're not implementing something every 6 months to a year, you're going to fall very far behind very quickly. And if you're saying you're not looking at any technology changes that you're currently looking at, that is even worse. So just keep an open mind. I'm not saying implement every new technology that you see. That's very foolish way of dealing with things as well. But look at your processes and then look at technology and see how you could integrate technology into your existing processes, or how you could make your process more efficient by using technology that's available.
Well, thank you, Pete. Melissa, if we can move to the next slide, please. So you heard Pete talk about their use of CCH Axcess IQ, and we'll dig deeper into the solution here. We saw at the beginning those top goals that firms have, and as we see here, this is something that CCH Axcess IQ can help you with, accomplish growing revenue. You're able to provide those proactive advisory services throughout the year. Helps increase efficiency and employee engagement. You know, staff doesn't have to go out, do that manual research, identify those clients, and draft that client letter. That's all done for you automatically. And then you're able to communicate the value to your client and really establish yourself as a trusted advisor. You can send that client letter either through, social media, through email, and like Pete said earlier, you can do that without really saying anything. They see that value when you send that client letter. We'll do a quick walkthrough just with how CCH Axcess IQ works. So there's a change log that identifies those new CCH Axcess IQ events, and you can easily identify which changes are new here. We have both federal and state events. We had actually started rolling out states in phases starting last July and finished releasing the last state in May. Go to the next slide here. So from the events listing page, I can see all those federal and state events all on one page, and you can see the number of clients impacted. I can open up that event and get more information on the event, and then there's a client letter as well. So advance to the next slide. Here I've opened up an event. It provides a nice overview of the legislation change. There's the links to Answer Connect. So if you're licensed for Answer Connect, you can get more information on those legislation changes. You click the next slide and you see here that there's additional information. The client application, you can see how you can go ahead and apply this to your clients. There's a nice client profile and just a wealth of information here. Here you'll see a client letter that provides an overview of the legislation change and then lets your client know that they can reach out to you to discuss that strategy further. There's a handy client dashboard, which you can see those particular events that affect your client. So for example, if you have your client that calls you up, you can bring up that client dashboard real quickly and talk to your client about those legislation changes that affect them. It gives you really new material to talk to your client about, and just something that's very relevant as well, or if you're meeting with them on a regular basis. In addition, when you're preparing the tax return, you can bring this up, making sure you took advantage of those legislation changes. Also coming soon is our IQ events will return to the CCH Axcess tax return dashboard for individual tax returns. So this will be coming out very soon. So when your tax preparers are preparing that tax return, this really empowers them to go out looking at the different legislation changes, making sure they took advantage of those as well. So Pete, I'd like you to take a moment, just share your insight with what we talked about throughout today's webinar and with how technology has helped your firm.
Sure. As you can see there, I mean, we are a CCH firm, and I spend probably 2-3 times a year looking at new technology that that we can potentially implement at our firm. We evaluate it. We evaluate whether it fits into what we're currently doing, or if it can improve the service that we provide to the clients at a reasonable cost. Obviously, if you want to be an early implementer for all technology, you're going to spend a lot of money on technology, and if your client mix supports that, then that's great. There have to be early implementers in there somewhere. We like to be somewhere in the second tier in terms of technology. Not only do we generally then have the ability to evaluate technology both from a competition standpoint, there may be more than one place where we can source a particular technology, and we can evaluate them against each other. Having an integrated suite of technology products definitely helps. It eliminates a lot of duplication. Once a client is entered into the CCH Axcess Suite, they're available everywhere. They're available in document. If you make a change to an address on a tax return, it then asks you whether you want to update the client's profile information, and that then changes where the next invoice gets mailed to. There's a lot of kind of back office things that happen that you get as a benefit from using a suite of products rather than individual pieces here and there. Even though maybe one piece from this area, another piece from that area is more, they may individually be more efficient, but from past experience, it takes a lot more time to do the coordination in between those products. We came to Axcess from Lacert and a previous practice management software that's no longer available, and different pieces in engagement, and being able to put those pieces together really helps in terms of being able to stay in the lead in terms of information. We're getting bombarded with information every single day, every single hour. I don't know how many emails I delete every day in terms of wanting to let me know about what's happening here or there or in this particular item. And Axcess IQ has been absolutely phenomenal and kind of giving me a single source of the things that are happening and that may be relevant to clients, and allowing me to quickly figure out whether it's worth it for me to send something out to clients specifically for that. And then what I have to do on my end to train my team to be able to respond quickly to the client inquiries. The example that Lisa had put up on the required minimum distributions is something that we just sent out to our clients about 2 weeks ago, and we immediately ended up with 8 to 10 clients contacting us, wanting to know, they had already done something, did it apply to them, did they need to change anything, so it just starts that client conversation, gets them in contact with you, keeps them as your clients because they see that you're looking out for them and getting them relevant information on a timely basis.
Great perspective, Pete. I really want to thank you for joining us today and sharing your experiences. And I think we're out of time now. Alyssa, do you want to wrap us up?
Thank you. I just have one final polling question to launch, and it is, would you like to learn more about the technology Wolters Kluwer has to offer? and we'll give everyone about 30 more seconds to answer this question. If we did not get a chance to answer your questions that you put into the questions pane, we will be sure to follow up with you after the webinar. And as I mentioned at the beginning, if you are interested in obtaining your CPE certificate, you will need to log into CPE Link using the email that you used to register for the webinar with. If you're having any trouble or you cannot find it, you can email us at taa-na@wolterskluwer.com, and I'd be happy to help you retrieve that certificate. I'm going to close the poll, and Lisa and Pete, I'll turn it back over to you for any closing remarks that you may have. I'd like to thank you both for your time, as well as all of you that joined us today.
I just want to thank everyone that has joined us today with CCH Axcess IQ and just really the suite of products. It was really amazing to see how it helps firms out there, their day-to-day jobs, and that's what we want to do is just make your job easier. Pete, I'll hand it over to you.
Well, thanks, Lisa and Alyssa, for having me and allowing me to share some of our experiences with everyone today. And hopefully it's given them some food for thought. And I wish you all the best.
Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Lisa and Pete, for your time. I hope you all have a wonderful day.